I told my new wife I was just the store manager at Morrison Hardware. What I didn't tell her was that I owned all 5 locations across Calgary, plus the warehouse, plus the commercial real estate they sat on. $17 million worth of property and inventory, give or take. At 64 years old, I'd learned that money changes people faster than you can say I do. My daughter Claire squeezed my hand under the table at the reception. "Dad, are you absolutely sure about this?" she whispered, watching Catherine Kate. She insisted everyone call her laughing with her friends across the room. "You've only known her 11 months. Your mother would want me to be happy," I said, though the words felt hollow. Margaret had been gone 3 years, and the loneliness had been crushing. Kate had appeared at just the right time, or so I'd thought. We'd met at a charity fundraiser for the Calgary Food Bank. She'd been volunteering, sorting donations, her hair pulled back, no makeup, just genuinely helping people. That's what had drawn me in. Mom would want you to be happy, yes, but she'd also want you to be smart. Claire glanced at Kate's son, Brandon, who was taking selfies near the cake. "There's something off about him. He's supposed to be 25. But Dad, I swear he looks older. And the way he looks at you sometimes." "Claire, I'm just saying, be careful. Promise me." I promised, but I thought she was being overprotective. My smart, cautious daughter who worked as a forensic accountant. Of course she'd see red flags everywhere. The wedding night, Kate and I returned to what she believed was my modest rental, a 3-bedroom house in Marda that I actually owned, one of 4 investment properties I'd quietly accumulated over the years. The main house, the one Margaret and I had built together in Elbow Park, sat empty except for when Claire visited. Too many memories. "I can't believe we're really married," Kate said, kicking off her heels. "Robert Morrison, you've made me the happiest woman in Calgary." I smiled, pushing down the small voice that sounded suspiciously like Claire's. "We should talk about our finances, start planning our future together." Kate's eyes lit up. "Oh, absolutely. You know, I was thinking you've been managing that hardware store for so long. Don't you think it's time to consider retirement? You could probably get a decent severance package." "The owners are pretty tight," I said carefully. "Been there 32 years, but they're not exactly generous. Still, you must have savings. We could pool our resources, maybe invest in something. Brandon has some wonderful ideas about cryptocurrency and NFTs." "I'll bet he does," I thought. "Let's take it slow. Get to know each other as husband and wife first." She pouted slightly but recovered quickly. "Of course, darling. I'm just excited about our future." That night, lying next to her in the dark, I wondered if I'd made a terrible mistake. But I'd been careful, hadn't I? I'd run a background check, nothing unusual. Catherine Ann Donovan, born in Medicine Hat, worked as a dental hygienist for 15 years, widowed young, raised Brandon on her own. A normal life, a good person, except something Claire said kept nagging at me. "Brandon looks older, the way he looks at you." The first 3 days of married life were unremarkable. Kate went to work at the dental clinic. I went to work at the hardware store, though, really, I owned the whole operation and had a general manager running things while I played the role of floor supervisor. In the evenings, we cooked dinner together, watched TV, played house. Normal. Brandon came by on day 4. "Hey, Robert," he said, sprawling on my couch without invitation. Not Rob or Mr. Morrison, or even a respectful sir. Just Robert, like we were buddies. "Mom says you're pretty comfortable financially." "That's cool, man. I've been thinking we should talk about some investment opportunities." "I'm not interested in cryptocurrency," I said evenly. "Nah, man, bigger than that. My business partner and I are launching a startup. We're developing an app that uses AI to, well, it's complicated. But trust me, it's going to be huge. We just need some seed capital. Say, 200,000 to start?" I nearly choked on my coffee. "Brandon, I manage a hardware store. I don't have $200,000 lying around." His expression shifted, something cold flickering behind his eyes before the friendly mask returned. "Right, yeah, of course. Just thought I'd ask. But you know, you could probably get a loan or something. Family investment, you know? Help your new stepson get started in life." I'll think about it, I lied. After he left, I sat in the quiet house and thought about Margaret. We'd built Morrison Hardware from nothing. Started with one small shop in 1989, back when Calgary was hurting from the oil crash. We'd scraped and saved and worked 70-hour weeks. By the time she got sick, we had 5 locations and owned every building. She'd made me promise 2 things before she died. Take care of Claire, and don't let anyone take advantage of me. I'd already broken the second promise by not being completely honest with Kate. But maybe it was time to see exactly what I was dealing with. I called a number I'd been given years ago. Chen Legal Services. This is Melissa speaking. I need to speak with Sarah Chen, please. Tell her it's Robert Morrison. She handled my wife's estate. Sarah took my call within 5 minutes. Robert, it's been a while. What's going on? I explained everything. The whirlwind romance, the marriage, Brandon's request for $200,000, Claire's suspicions. Sarah listened without interrupting. Robert, I'm going to be very direct with you. In my experience, when someone asks for 6 figures within a week of a wedding, it's not a good sign. I want you to do something for me. Don't give them any money, not a penny. And I'm going to run some deeper background checks, the kind that go beyond public records. Can you give me a few days? What are you thinking? I'm thinking that if your daughter's instincts are telling her something's wrong, we should listen. Forensic accountants are trained to spot patterns. Let me dig. That night, Kate brought it up over dinner. Brandon told me about his app idea. Isn't it exciting? He's always been so entrepreneurial. It's a lot of money, I said neutrally. But think of it as an investment in our family. Once Brandon's company takes off, we'll all benefit. Besides, you've been working for so long. You deserve to use your savings for something meaningful. There it was again. My savings. She'd been asking about them since day 1 of the marriage. How much did I have? Where was it invested? Did I have a financial advisor? I'll need to think about it, I said. Her smile tightened. Of course. Take all the time you need. Day 5. I woke up to find Kate already dressed, standing in the bedroom with a manila envelope in her hands. Robert, we need to talk. I've been doing some thinking, and I believe it's time we made some changes. Changes? She handed me the envelope. Inside was a document, professionally printed with legal-looking headers. I had Brandon's girlfriend, she's a paralegal, draw this up. It's just a simple agreement about our finances. I'll have access to your accounts. We'll make joint decisions, that kind of thing. Standard stuff for married couples. I scanned the document. It wasn't standard at all. It would give her power of attorney over all my financial decisions, access to all my accounts, and control over any real estate in my name. Kate, this is a lot. We should have a lawyer look at this. Why? Don't you trust me? We're married, Robert. What's mine is yours. What's yours is mine. That's how it works. I understand. But what? You know, Brandon mentioned that you seemed reluctant to help him. And now you're hesitating about something as simple as a financial agreement with your own wife. It makes a girl wonder what you're hiding. The shift in her tone was startling. The warm, loving Kate from the wedding reception had vanished, replaced by someone harder, colder. I'm not hiding anything, I said carefully. I just think we should slow down. We've only been married 5 days. 5 days? We can make this easy, or we can make this complicated. After she stormed out, I immediately called Sarah Chen. She's pushing hard, wants me to sign a power of attorney. Don't sign anything. Robert, I have some preliminary findings. Are you sitting down? I sat. Catherine Donovan isn't widowed. She's divorced 3 times. Each divorce came within a year of marriage, and in each case, she received substantial settlements. The first husband was an oil executive. The second owned a car dealership. The third was a real estate developer. There's a pattern of rapid marriages, followed by rapid divorces and payouts. My blood ran cold. And Brandon? Brandon Hartley, not Donovan. Age 31, not 25. He's not her son, he's her nephew. And here's where it gets interesting. He's worked with Catherine on at least 2 of the previous marriages. There are court documents suggesting he posed as her troubled son who needed financial help. It's a con, Robert. They're con artists. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. What do I do? First, We need to verify what name she used on your marriage certificate. If she lied about any of the essential facts, her marital status, her identity, we can get an annulment pretty quickly. Second, we need evidence of fraud. Can you record conversations? In Canada, you can legally record any conversation you're part of without the other person's knowledge. One-party consent. I can do that. Good. I'm coming to Calgary tomorrow. Don't sign anything, don't transfer any money, and try to act normal. Let them show their hand. Acting normal was harder than I thought. Kate barely spoke to me that evening. Brandon came over with a woman he introduced as his girlfriend, Diane. She was tall, professional-looking, mid-50s. I hear there's been some hesitation about helping Brandon, Diane said, settling onto my couch like she owned it. That's disappointing. Family should support family. Something about her voice tickled my memory. Have we met before? I don't think so, she said, but her eyes flickered to Kate. I'd activated the voice recorder on my phone before they arrived, tucked in my shirt pocket. I'm just being cautious. It's a lot of money. Robert, let me be frank with you, Brandon said, leaning forward. You're not getting any younger. You're 64 years old, working at a hardware store. How much longer do you think you can keep that up? My mom, sorry, Kate, she's being nice about it, but let's be real. She could do better. But she loves you, so she's willing to stick around. All we're asking for is a little family loyalty in return. Is that a threat? I asked quietly. It's reality. Sign the papers, invest in the app, and we're all happy. Don't, and things could get complicated. Divorces are expensive, especially for the older spouse. And at your age, starting over? That's rough, man. Kate placed her hand on mine. Robert, please. I don't want it to come to that. Just sign the agreement. Show me you trust me. I need more time. Diane, if that was even her real name, stood up. Then we'll give you until tomorrow at noon. After that, we're filing for legal separation, and Kate will be seeking spousal support, division of assets, the works. Your choice. After they left, I listened to the recording. It was clear, perfect. Threats, coercion, fraud. I sent it to Sarah immediately. Her response came back in minutes. This is gold. Don't delete it. I'll see you first thing tomorrow. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying everything: the charity event where we met, the whirlwind courtship, the way she'd always asked about my finances but never shared much about her own. The red flags had been there all along. I'd just been too lonely, too eager for companionship, to see them. At 8 in the morning, Sarah Chen arrived at my house with a tall man in a dark suit. Robert, this is Detective Marcus Williams with the Calgary Police Service, Financial Crimes Unit. Mr. Morrison, Williams said, shaking my hand. Miss Chen has filled me in. We've been watching Catherine Hartley. That's her real name, Hartley, not Donovan, for about 2 years. She's suspected in at least 6 marriage fraud cases across Western Canada, but we've never had enough evidence to charge her. Until now. What do you need from me? We need you to wear a wire. Get them to talk about the con explicitly. We need them to admit they were targeting you for your money, that Brandon isn't really her son, that Diane is her sister, yes, her sister, not Brandon's girlfriend, and that they've done this before. They're coming back at noon with papers for me to sign. Sarah smiled grimly. Then we have about 4 hours to prepare. At 11:45, I sat in my living room, a tiny microphone clipped inside my shirt collar, a recording device in my pocket, and 3 police officers positioned around my house. My hands were shaking. Kate arrived first. Brandon and Diane pulling up minutes later. They looked confident, almost smug. Decision time, Robert, Kate said, spreading the papers on my coffee table. What's it going to be? Before I sign anything, I need to understand something. How did you 3 meet? I mean, you and Brandon and Diane. What's the real story? Kate's eyes narrowed. What kind of question is that? Humor me. We're married. I should know more about my wife's family. Diane, I could see it now. The resemblance to Kate around the eyes cut in. What does it matter? Sign the papers. Because I've been thinking, I said slowly, my heart pounding. 11 months isn't very long to know someone before marriage. And 5 days is an awfully short time to be asking for access to all my finances. Makes a man wonder. Brandon laughed. Wonder what? That we're running some kind of scam? Come on, Robert. You're being paranoid. Am I? Because I've done some research. Catherine Hartley. 3 previous marriages, 3 quick divorces, 3 substantial settlements. Brandon Hartley. Your nephew, not your son. Age 31, not 25. And Diane Hartley. Your sister, not his girlfriend, and definitely not a paralegal. The room went deadly silent. Kate's face transformed, the mask dropping away completely. You son of a bitch, you've been investigating me? Just trying to trust but verify, as they say. So tell me, Kate, or should I call you Catherine, how many men have you done this to? How many lonely widowers have you conned? You don't know what you're talking about, she spat, but Brandon put a hand on her arm. Let's just go, he muttered. He's not worth it. No. Diane stepped forward. No, I want to know how he found out. Did that daughter of his hire someone? Is that it? Does it matter? I stood up, surprising myself with how calm I felt. What matters is that I know the truth. You targeted me because you thought I was just a hardware store manager, with maybe a decent pension and some savings. What you didn't count on was that I might actually have resources to check you out. Kate's laugh was bitter. Resources? You're a store manager, Robert. You live in a rental house. You drive a 10-year-old truck. Don't act like you're some big shot. That's where you're wrong. I walked to the window, where I knew the police were listening. I don't manage Morrison Hardware. I own Morrison Hardware. All 5 locations, plus the warehouse, plus the buildings they're in, plus this house, and 3 others. I'm worth about $17 million, give or take. The silence that followed was deafening. You're lying, Kate whispered. I'm not. And here's the thing I was going to tell you eventually. Maybe in a few months, maybe a year, once I was sure you loved me, for me, and not my money. But you couldn't wait, could you? 5 days into the marriage, and you're already pushing for power of attorney, asking for hundreds of thousands for Brandon's fake app company. Brandon's face had gone pale. The app's not fake. It doesn't exist. Detective Williams confirmed it this morning. There's no registered business, no trademark, no LLC. It was just a way to get money out of me. Diane moved toward the door. We're leaving. I don't think so. I pulled out my phone, showed them the recording app that had been running the whole time. See, in Canada, we have one-party consent laws. I can record any conversation I'm part of, and I've got hours of recordings now, including the one from last night where Brandon threatened me and you all admitted this was about getting access to my money. The door opened, and Detective Williams walked in with 2 uniformed officers, Catherine Hartley, Brandon Hartley, Diane Hartley. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted theft over $5,000, and uttering threats. What happened next was a blur handcuffs, Miranda rights, Kate screaming that I'd betrayed her, Brandon cursing, Diane remaining coldly silent. They were led out to separate police cars, while Sarah stood beside me, her hand on my shoulder. You did good, Robert, she said quietly. A lot of victims don't fight back. Is the marriage even legal? I asked. She used a false name on some of our initial paperwork, said her maiden name was Donovan, not Hartley. Fraud in the essentials of marriage. We can get an annulment, probably within 30 days. Judge Kowalski is handling fraud cases this month, and she's seen enough of the Hartley family's work to move quickly. Claire arrived 20 minutes later, bursting through the door and throwing her arms around me. Dad! Oh my God! Are you okay? Detective Williams called me. I'm okay, sweetheart. You were right. You were right about all of it. I wish I'd been wrong. She pulled back, looking at me seriously. Dad, promise me something. Promise me that next time, if there is a next time, you'll introduce me first. Let me do a background check before you even go on a second date. I laughed, but it came out shaky. Deal. Over the next few weeks, the case built itself. The police found evidence of 5 other victims across Alberta and British Columbia, men Kate had married or gotten engaged to, men she'd conned out of anywhere from $50,000 to $500,000. Brandon and Diane had been her partners the whole time, playing different roles depending on what the mark needed to see. Sometimes Brandon was her troubled son, sometimes her business-minded nephew. Diane played everything from best friend to financial advisor to paralegal. The annulment came through in 3 weeks. Judge Kowalski ruled that Catherine had committed fraud in the essentials of the marriage by lying about her identity, her marital history, and her intentions. The marriage was declared void ab initio, void from the beginning, as if it had never existed. "How are you holding up?" Sarah asked when we met to finalize the paperwork. "Honestly, I feel like an idiot. I'm 64 years old. I've run a successful business for 35 years. How did I fall for it?" Sarah leaned back in her chair. "Robert, you fell for it because you're a good person who wanted to believe in someone. Catherine Hartley is a professional. She's been doing this for at least 15 years that we can prove. She knew exactly how to read people, what to say, how to act. You're not the first smart, successful person she's fooled, and if we hadn't caught her, you wouldn't have been the last. What happens to them now? The Crown Attorney is pushing for significant jail time. Catherine has priors not for fraud, but for theft and deception. Brandon has a record too. With the evidence we have, including your recordings and testimony from the other victims who are willing to come forward, we're looking at 5 to 7 years for Catherine, 3 to 5 for Brandon and Diane. Good. There's something else. Sarah slid a business card across the desk. One of the other victims, Gerald Patterson, asked if he could speak with you. He's 72, and Catherine got him for almost $300,000 before his son intervened. He said it would help to talk to someone who understands. I took the card. I'll call him. That evening, I sat in my real home, the one Margaret and I had built, the one with her photos still on the mantle and her garden tools still in the shed. Claire had made dinner, and we ate together in comfortable silence. "You going to try again?" she asked finally. "Dating, I mean." I thought about it. The loneliness hadn't gone away. If anything, the betrayal had made it worse, added a layer of bitterness to the empty nights. But I also thought about Margaret, about the 35 years we'd had together, the trust we'd built, the life we'd created. "Maybe," I said, "but not for a while. And when I do, I'm going to take it slow, real slow, no rushing into anything. And you'll let me vet them? Thoroughly." She smiled. "I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart." A month later, I got a call from Detective Williams. "Thought you'd want to know Catherine Hartley took a plea deal. 7 years, no parole for at least 4. Brandon got 5, Diane got 3. They're also required to pay restitution to all the victims." Will the victims actually see any of that money? Probably not much. The Hartleys don't have assets, they spent everything they stole. But at least they're off the streets. Thank you, Detective, for everything. Thank you for being willing to wear a wire. A lot of victims are too embarrassed. You helped put away 3 people who've been hurting folks for over a decade. After we hung up, I walked through my empty house. 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a chef's kitchen that Margaret had designed herself. Too much space for one person, but it was honest space, built with honest money, filled with honest memories. I thought about what I'd learned. Here's what I wish someone had told me before I walked into that charity fundraiser and met Catherine Hartley. First, if someone is too perfect, they probably are. Kate had been exactly what I needed, exactly when I needed it. That should have been my first warning. Second, anyone who pushes for financial access too quickly is showing you who they are. Believe them. Marriage is about love and partnership, not joint bank accounts in the first week. Third, if your kids, especially your smart, observant kids, tell you something's wrong, listen. They see things we don't want to see. Fourth, in Canada, you can protect yourself legally. Record conversations. One-party consent is legal. Keep your assets separate until you're absolutely sure. And don't be afraid to run background checks. Love is wonderful, but verification is smart. Fifth, and maybe most importantly, loneliness makes you vulnerable, but it doesn't make you stupid. If I'd taken a step back, if I'd waited even 2 months longer before proposing, I might have seen the cracks in Kate's story. I called Gerald Patterson that night. We talked for 2 hours. 2 men who'd been fooled by the same woman, sharing our stories and our shame and our anger. By the end of the call, we were laughing about the absurdity of it all. "You know what the worst part is?" Gerald said. "I actually thought she loved me. Even now, knowing everything, part of me still wants to believe some of it was real. I know exactly what you mean, but it wasn't, was it? It was a job to her. We were marks, not people. Yeah, we were. After we hung up, I sat in the dark and thought about Margaret. I miss you, I said to the empty room. I miss you so much. And I'm sorry I tried to replace you with someone who turned out to be a con artist. You would have seen through her in 5 minutes. The house stayed silent, but somehow I felt better. 3 months after the arrests, I got a letter from the Calgary Crown Attorney's office. Would I be willing to provide a victim impact statement at Catherine Hartley's sentencing hearing? I would. The hearing was in September, the kind of crisp fall day that Margaret had always loved. I stood in front of the judge and read my statement, looking Catherine Hartley in the eye the whole time. Your Honor, Catherine Hartley didn't just steal my money. She didn't actually succeed in that. But she stole my trust. She stole months of my life that I'll never get back. She exploited my grief over losing my wife of 35 years. She calculated exactly what a lonely 64-year-old man would want to hear. And she said it perfectly. She turned love into a con game, and that's a special kind of cruelty. I paused, watching her face. She looked down, refusing to meet my eyes. But here's what she didn't steal. My future. I'm still here. I still have my daughter, my business, my life. I'm still capable of trusting people, even if I'm more careful now. Catherine Hartley tried to take everything from me, but she failed. And I want that on record, she failed. The judge sentenced her to 9 years, 2 more than the plea deal, citing the number of victims and the sophistication of the fraud. Brandon got 6, Diane got 4. As I left the courthouse, Sarah Chen caught up with me. That was a powerful statement, Robert. It was the truth. I know you've been through a lot, but I wanted to ask, would you be willing to talk to other seniors about relationship fraud? The Calgary police want to start an education program, and they need speakers who've been through it. I thought about Gerald Patterson, about the 5 other men Catherine had conned, about all the people out there who might fall for the same scheme. Yes, I said. I'll do it. 6 months later, I stood in front of a group of about 50 people at the Calgary Senior Center, telling my story. I talked about the red flags I'd missed, the questions I should have asked, the resources available to verify someone's background. I talked about loneliness and vulnerability and the difference between being cautious and being afraid to love again. After the presentation, a woman approached me. She was about my age, with kind eyes and a warm smile. Thank you for sharing your story. My sister almost fell for something similar last year. Your talk might help her feel less ashamed. I hope so. That's why I do it. I'm Elizabeth, by the way. I volunteer here on Thursdays. We talked for 20 minutes about the senior center, about her sister, about Calgary's brutal winters and beautiful summers. Natural conversation, easy and unforced. When she mentioned she had to get back to her volunteer shift, I surprised myself. Would you like to get coffee sometime? Just coffee, nothing more. She smiled. I'd like that, but fair warning, I'm going to Google you first. I laughed. Please do, and I'll Google you. Trust but verify, right? Right. As I walked to my truck, I thought about Margaret again. I'd always love her, that would never change. But maybe, just maybe, there was room in my life for something new, something real this time, built slowly and carefully, with eyes wide open. The story of Catherine Hartley and her family became something of a cautionary tale in Calgary. The local news covered the case extensively. Sarah Chen did interviews about protecting yourself from relationship fraud, and Detective Williams used it as a teaching example for other law enforcement agencies. As for me, I kept running Morrison Hardware, kept doing the fraud education talks, and yes, I kept seeing Elizabeth for coffee. 3 years later, we're still taking it slow, still getting to know each other, still verifying trust one day at a time. Because at 67, I finally learned what I should have known at 64. Real love doesn't rush. It doesn't push for access to your bank account after 5 days. It doesn't come with a hidden agenda or a team of accomplices. Real love is patient, honest, and worth waiting for. And if you're out there reading this, wondering if your new partner is too good to be true, Wondering if you should ignore those red flags because you're lonely, don't. Listen to your instincts. Talk to your kids. Run that background check. Protect yourself. Because people like Catherine Hartley are out there. And they're very, very good at what they do. But they can be stopped. And you can survive it. And life somehow goes on.